According to the National Electrical Code, NM cable, also known as Romex, is permitted for wiring an office located within an industrial maintenance building. NM cable, or non-metallic sheath cable, is a common choice for both residential and commercial electrical wiring applications. It consists of 2 or more insulated conductors enclosed within a non-metallic outer jacket. The NEC permits the use of NM cable in industrial occupancies provided that the installation adheres to all relevant code requirements. This includes proper support and protection of the cable from physical damage. For this specific office application, NM cable can be installed within the walls or ceiling, and it should be secured using staples or other approved securing methods. While metallic flexible conduit, often referred to as metal flex, is also an acceptable wiring method for this type of office space, it is not a mandatory requirement. NM cable generally presents a more cost-effective solution compared to metal flex. It also typically offers a simpler and faster installation process. Therefore, NM cable is often the preferred choice for this type of office installation, balancing cost, ease of installation, and compliance with the NEC. When deciding between NM cable and metal flex for wiring in office within an industrial building, several factors beyond the basic code compliance should be considered. Firstly, assess the potential for physical damage to the wiring. In an industrial environment, the risk of impacts, abrasions, or other physical stresses on the wiring might be higher compared to a typical commercial office setting. While NM cable can be used, it's crucial to ensure it's adequately protected, such as by routing it through areas less susceptible to damage or by using additional protective measures like conduits in vulnerable locations. Secondly, consider the specific type of industrial activity taking place in the building. Certain industrial processes might involve exposure to chemicals, moisture, or extreme temperatures. These conditions could potentially degrade the NM cable over time, leading to insulation breakdown or other issues. In such cases, metal flex conduit, particularly liquid-tight flexible metal conduit, provides a more robust barrier against these environmental factors. Thirdly, evaluate the need for flexibility and ease of future modifications. Metal flex conduit offers greater flexibility in routing wires around obstacles and making changes to the wiring layout later on. If the office space is likely to undergo renovations or expansions in the future, the flexibility of metal flex could be advantageous. Fourthly, consider the grounding requirements. Metal flex conduit provides an inherent grounding path when properly installed, which can be beneficial in reducing electrical noise and ensuring safety. NM cable relies on a separate grounding conductor within the cable assembly. Ensure that the grounding conductor is properly sized and connected according to the NEC. Fifthly, compare the costs of materials and labor for both options. NM cable is typically less expensive than metal flex conduit in terms of materials. However, the labor costs might be higher for metal flex if it requires more time and skill to install, especially when dealing with complex routing or tight spaces. Sixthly, check local building codes and regulations. While the NEC provides a baseline for electrical safety, local jurisdictions might have additional requirements or restrictions on the use of NM cable in certain types of buildings or occupancies. Consult with the local electrical inspector or building department to ensure compliance with all applicable codes. Seventhly, consider the aesthetic aspects of the installation. If the wiring will be visible, metal flex conduit can offer a more professional and aesthetically pleasing appearance compared to NM cable, especially when installed neatly and with appropriate fittings. NM cable, on the other hand, is typically concealed within walls or ceilings. Eighthly, assess the potential for electromagnetic interference, also known as EMI. In some industrial environments, there might be significant sources of electromagnetic interference that could affect sensitive electronic equipment in the office. Metal flex conduit can provide some shielding against EMI, while an NM cable offers little or no shielding. Ninthly, consider the fire resistance requirements. Metal conduit is inherently more fire resistant than NM cable. If the office is required to have a certain fire resistance rating, metal conduit might be necessary to meet those requirements. Tenthly, evaluate the long-term maintenance and reliability of each option. Metal conduit is generally more durable and resistant to physical damage and environmental factors, which can translate to lower maintenance costs and longer lifespan. NM cable, on the other hand, might require more frequent inspection and replacement, especially in harsh environments. To elaborate on the installation aspects of NM cable, firstly, ensure that the cable is supported at intervals not exceeding 4½ feet and within 12 inches of every box or fitting. Use cable staples, cable ties, straps, or similar fittings designed and installed so as not to damage the cable. Secondly, when running NM cable through wood framing members, protect the cable from nails or screws by installing steel nail plates where the cable is less than 1¼ inches from the nearest edge of the framing member. Thirdly, avoid running NM cable in areas where it is exposed to physical damage, such as near doorways or in walkways. If exposure is unavoidable, protect the cable with conduit or other suitable shielding. Fourthly, when terminating NM cable at electrical boxes or equipment, use cable connectors designed for NM cable. These connectors provide a secure and strain-relieved connection, preventing damage to the cable and ensuring proper grounding. Fifthly, be careful not to exceed the bending radius of the NM cable during installation. Excessive bending can damage the insulation and conductors, leading to electrical shorts or other problems. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations for minimum bending radius. Sixthly, avoid pulling NM cable too tightly during installation. Excessive tension can stretch the conductors and damage the insulation. Use proper cable pulling techniques and equipment to minimize tension. Seventhly, ensure that all electrical boxes and equipment are properly grounded. Connect the grounding conductor in the NM cable to the grounding terminal in the box or equipment. Eighthly, when splicing NM cable, use approved splicing methods and materials. Avoid using wire nuts or other unapproved methods, as these can create unreliable connections and increase the risk of electrical fires. Ninthly, before energizing the circuit, thoroughly inspect the NM cable installation to ensure that it is in compliance with the NEC and all applicable local codes. Check for any signs of damage, improper connections, or other potential hazards. Tenthly, after energizing the circuit, periodically inspect the NM cable installation to ensure that it remains in good condition. Look for any signs of deterioration, damage, or overheating. Address any problems promptly to prevent electrical hazards. Regarding the installation of metal flex conduit, firstly, ensure that the conduit is properly supported at intervals not exceeding 4½ feet and within 12 inches of every box or fitting. Use conduit straps or clamps designed for metal flex conduit. Secondly, when cutting metal flex conduit, use a conduit cutter or a hacksaw with a fine-tooth blade. Avoid using a pipe cutter, as it can crush the conduit and damage the wires inside. Thirdly, deburr the cut ends of the conduit to remove any sharp edges or burrs that could damage the wires. Use a deburring tool or a file. Fourthly, when bending metal flex conduit, use a conduit bender designed for metal flex. Avoid using a pipe bender, as it can damage the conduit. Fifthly, when connecting metal flex conduit to electrical boxes or equipment, use connectors designed for metal flex conduit. These connectors provide a secure and watertight connection, preventing moisture from entering the conduit and damaging the wires. Sixthly, when pulling wires through metal flex conduit, use a wire pulling lubricant to reduce friction and prevent damage to the wires. Avoid pulling too many wires through the conduit at once, as this can make it difficult to pull and increase the risk of damage. Seventhly, ensure that all metal flex conduit is properly grounded. Connect a grounding conductor to the conduit using a grounding bushing or other approved method. Eighthly, when splicing wires inside metal flex conduit, use approved splicing methods and materials. Avoid using wire nuts or other unapproved methods, as these can create unreliable connections and increase the risk of electrical fires. Ninthly, before energizing the circuit, thoroughly inspect the metal flex conduit installation to ensure that it is in compliance with the NEC and all applicable local codes. Check for any signs of damage, improper connections, or other potential hazards. Tenthly, after energizing the circuit, periodically inspect the metal flex conduit installation to ensure that it remains in good condition. Look for any signs of deterioration, damage, or corrosion. Address any problems promptly to prevent electrical hazards. Additional considerations for using NM cable. Firstly, NM cable types. NMB is the most common type of NM cable and is suitable for dry locations only. Secondly, NM cable sizes. NM cable is available in various sizes, such as 40-2, 12-2, and 10-3, where the first number indicates the wire gauge and the second number indicates the number of conductors. Thirdly, ampacity ratings. The ampacity of NM cable depends on the wire gauge and the temperature rating of the insulation. Consult the NEC for ampacity tables. Fourthly, dirting factors. When multiple NM cables are bundled together, the ampacity of each cable must be derated to prevent overheating. Consult the NEC for dirting factors. Fifthly, voltage drop. Calculate the voltage drop in the NM cable to ensure that the voltage at the load is within acceptable limits. Consult the NEC for voltage drop calculations. Sixthly, overcurrent protection. Protect NM cable with circuit breakers or fuses that are properly sized for the ampacity of the cable. Seventhly, grounding. Ensure that the grounding conductor in the NM cable is properly connected to the grounding system. Eighthly, labeling. Label all NM cable runs with their circuit number or other identification information. Ninthly, inspection. Have the NM cable installation inspected by a qualified electrical inspector to ensure compliance with the NEC and local codes. Tenthly, maintenance. Periodically inspect the NM cable installation for any signs of damage or deterioration. If deciding to use metal flex conduit, there are more things to consider. Firstly, metal flex conduit types. Common types include flexible metal conduit, also known as FMC, and liquid tight flexible metal conduit, also known as LFMC. Secondly, metal flex conduit sizes. Metal flex conduit is available in various sizes ranging from 1/2 inch to 4 inches in diameter. Thirdly, fill capacity. The number of wires that can be installed in metal flex conduit is limited by the fill capacity of the conduit. Consult the NEC for fill tables. Fourthly, support requirements. Metal flex conduit must be supported at intervals not exceeding 4½ feet and within 12 inches of every box or fitting. Fifthly, grounding. Metal flex conduit can be used as a grounding conductor if it is installed with approved fittings. Sixthly, cutting and bending. Use proper tools and techniques for cutting and bending metal flex conduit to avoid damage. Seventhly, connectors. Use connectors that are specifically designed for metal flex conduit to ensure a secure and watertight connection. Eighthly, pulling wires. Use a wire pulling lubricant to make it easier to pull wires through metal flex conduit. Ninthly, inspection. Have the metal flex conduit installation inspected by a qualified electrical inspector to ensure compliance with the NEC and local codes. Tenthly, maintenance. Periodically inspect the metal flex conduit installation for any signs of damage or corrosion. When considering the specific application of wiring an office within an industrial maintenance building, remember the following code considerations. Firstly, Article 300 of the NEC covers general wiring methods and requirements. Secondly, Article 310 of the NEC covers conductors for general wiring. Thirdly, Article 320 of the NEC covers armored cable type AC. Fourthly, Article 330 of the NEC covers metal-clad cable type MC. Fifthly, Article 334 of the NEC covers non-metallic sheath cable types NM, NMC, and NMS. Sixthly, Article 348 of the NEC covers flexible metal conduit FMC. Seventhly, Article 350 of the NEC covers flexible metal conduit LFMC. Eighthly, Article 356 of the NEC covers liquid-tight flexible metal conduit LFNC. Ninthly, Article 358 of the NEC covers electrical metallic tubing EMT. Tenthly, Article 362 of the NEC covers electrical non-metallic tubing ENT. Finally, when it comes to safety, always disconnect power before working on any electrical circuits. Use appropriate personal protective equipment, also known as PPE, such as safety glasses and gloves. Work with a qualified electrician to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations.